And this past week has seen numerous developments with regards to Iran, its nuclear ambitions, and its negotiations with the West. All these topics and more will be covered tonight on ILTV's Insider. And so joining us now with more is ILTV correspondent and host of Insider, Steve Liebovitz. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lidar.
So tonight, Insider focuses on a number of topics, but first and foremost on the Iranian threat. What do we have in store on
Well,
the
I'm
show?
calling it around the horn. It's kind of a baseball term, around the diamond, so we're going to have three subjects really fast. But the Iranian subject, of course, there's big news because both Iran and Washington have confirmed that there are contacts between the United States and Iran relating to the nuclear deal. So things are moving in that direction, and not in a good way from Jerusalem's perspective.
Right. Just today, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking at the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, said that over 90% of Israel's security problems stem from Iran and its proxies, and voiced once again opposition to any kind of deal, saying Israel won't be bound by any deal that Iran makes.
What's the problem? The problem is that the sanctions relief, we're going to talk about billions, some say as much as 18 billion, 2.3 billion almost immediately from gas money that's owed to them by Iraq. That's money that we know from the past. A lot of it goes towards funding terrorism, funding unrest in the Middle East. It could be money that goes to Gaza, money that goes to Islamic Jihad, terror groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, other cells in Syria. It's not a good thing for Israel if Iran has extra cash around.
Mm-hmm. And it's looking like things are headed in that direction, although Iran and the United States both denying that any kind of deal will be struck.
No deal has been made. Maybe no deal has even yet been negotiated, but they're at least talking about sitting down and making a deal, which is progress from where they were up until just weeks ago, when it was mostly speculation and Israel warning that it might be heading in that direction, and it turns out Israel was right.
And Israel was right. So who are your guests for today's show?
So we have Amos Asael, who's a great political commentator on a range of issues in Israel. He's been around for decades as a commentator, and former Knesset member Einat Wilf. And both of them very experienced and very adept, and they'll be able to just swing around to all those issues. The other two issues that we're going to be dealing with, of course, it's crunch time on judicial reform, and also about the spiraling number of homicides in the Arab sector. And we'll get their commentary on that as well.
So the show's also addressing other topics. The Judges Selection Committee, we spoke about it on the show earlier tonight. The deadline coming up tomorrow. What can you tell us about that?
We're at crunch time. This is the time to either move forward so that the issue will be diffused in effect, because if one is chosen from coalition, one is chosen from opposition, then essentially both sides, or let's say the opposition, will certainly feel that things have been accomplished in the right direction. If, however, they decide to just appoint two on their own from the coalition, then we're going to see mass protests back in the street probably before the end of the weekend, and I don't know what it's going to be, but if my prediction is that that's not the direction the Prime Minister has chosen to go, he's going to look to diffuse the situation and hopefully come to some kind of an agreement.
Mm-hmm. And now, the issue of Arab on Arab crime in Israel, I mean, it's a massive issue right now that's dominating headlines in Hebrew media. In recent days, more than 100 Arab Israelis have been murdered. It's becoming, a very, very serious problem here in Israel. How are you going to address this on the show?
Well, look, we have to figure out, we'll talk about what the Prime Minister is trying to do, or is planning to do, which is to send the Shabak after them. Normally, the Shabak is reserved only for going after terrorism. That's its basic mandate. But on certain occasions, the idea has come forward of using Shabak, which has tremendous talents in gathering of intelligence. They may even use something which would be very drastic, and that would be administrative detention of leading members of crime families in the Arab sector. That would put a dent, but it would also be of questionable legality, using administrative detention against crime suspects.
So all this and more on tonight's Insider. Steve Liebovitz, thank you so much for speaking with us today. And don't forget to watch Insider tonight on ILTV.